Hi, I'm Breakup Brad, YouTube's #1 breakup coach since 2012. And almost every time I appear on somebody's podcast or do an interview, I'm asked the same question. What is my #1 tip for somebody who's trying to get a second chance with their ex? Well, if I had $1 for every time I've been asked that, I'd be recording this video on my mega yacht instead of in front of a green screen at my office. And recently, I've actually changed my answer to this question. I have a new #1 tip for getting your ex back, and I'll share with you shortly if you promise to hit like and subscribe when this video's over. Now, before I share my new #1 tip for anybody trying to get their ex back, let me tell you what my answer to that question used to be. Now, I would usually talk about the importance of not trying to convince your ex to take you back with words, but rather to subtly shift their perception of you to the point where they end up deciding on their own that they want you back. And this is definitely still 100% true and extremely important. You can't talk your way back into your ex's heart. You have to use basic human psychology against your ex and make them decide that they want you back on their own. Now, I have talked about this in some of my past videos, and it's still one of the best pieces of advice that I could give to anybody hoping for a second chance after a breakup. But recently, after a stretch of a few weeks recently where many of my coaching clients just happened to all be experiencing a similar situation, I've decided that there's a better piece of advice that I can give that would be even more beneficial. So what is my #1 tip for getting your ex back? It's to ensure that every encounter with your ex is enjoyable for them. Now, this sounds stupid and obvious on the surface, but let me explain what I mean and how you can actually apply this in the real world to make your ex want you back. First, what I mean is simple. Anytime you talk to or see your ex, for whatever reason, whether it's an unavoidable encounter when you're still engaged in no contact, or whether you're seeing your ex in person to catch up over coffee, you always want that experience to be enjoyable for your ex. You want them to have a good time talking with you, seeing you. Every encounter with them should be something that they leave, feeling positive about. So make them laugh, make them smile, trigger a fun memory, or do something spontaneous and goofy. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that every time you see or talk to your ex, they enjoy it. Even if it's only, an extremely tiny minor thing, like responding to their text with a funny meme, or sharing a personal story that they'll enjoy hearing, or asking them about something that they're passionate about and enjoy talking about. Whatever it is, just make sure that they get something positive from each and every interaction. Now, can this be challenging at times? Of course, right? Sometimes your ex is already mad or bitter about something or trying to dig up old drama to pick a fight, but you should still try to make the best of the situation and try to lighten the mood or, at least make them crack a grin. You see, one basic principle of human psychology is that people are hardwired with something called recency bias. Now, we tend to remember and focus on things that occurred recently, and we have a bias towards focusing on those recent events. Now, in practice, this means that your ex is going to remember you a lot based on the most recent encounters. They'll focus on those recent memories, and those recent memories are going to have an outsized impact on their subconscious opinion of you and how they think about you. So if you get into, a bunch of fights with your ex, you always end conversations feeling angry or upset, well, those recent events are what your ex is going to be most heavily influenced by when they think about you. And they're negative. So they'll help your ex craft a subconscious image of you in their mind that makes them associate you with drama, heartache, resentment, etc., not with laughter and smiles. And guess what? People want to be around other people whose company they enjoy. So your ex will want to see you, talk to you, be around you, and yes, even get back together with you if they think you're still the same funny, attractive, intelligent person that they fell in love with originally. If every time they see you or talk to you, they enjoy it and they want more. That's why it's so important to always ensure that encounters with your ex are positive for them, that they leave your ex with a good recent memory to focus on instead of the negatives and the reasons that led them to the breakup. And another benefit to this approach is that it prevents you from making any major mistakes without realizing it. Now, almost all of the biggest mistakes that people make when trying to get their ex back, the ones that destroy your chances in a heartbeat, are actually just based on interactions that are negative and not enjoyable for your ex. So for example, many people spill their heart out to their ex thinking that saying, I miss you, I need you, I love you, over and over again will make them take you back. Now, if in that situation you were focused on ensuring that every conversation and encounter was fun for your ex, then you probably wouldn't spam them with texts, gushing your heart out, because why would your ex enjoy receiving that? If you were only focused on showing your ex a good time, even in the tiniest of text message exchanges, you're simply way less likely to say or do something that might destroy your chances for good. Speaking of which, if you want to know whether you've still got a chance to get your ex back and you haven't already taken my free quiz, go ahead and do it now at breakupbrad.com/quiz. Just answer a handful of questions, click submit, and you'll see a report breaking down your current odds and what to do next in your specific situation. As I said, the quiz is totally free and it's available at breakupbrad.com/quiz. Now, I want to share a couple of quick examples of how you might implement this tip in real life situations with your ex. So I'll share a couple of quick stories from some of my recent coaching clients. I'm not going to use their real names, obviously, and how to handle their situations in a way that ends up leaving their ex feeling positive about the encounter. So we'll start with a recent client who we'll call Catherine. Now, Catherine was in med school. She was a med school student, and her boyfriend of 3 years recently dumped her, and her 30 days of no contact were due to end in just a few days. Out of the blue one night, her ex Sean texted her and said, hey, are you still alive? What are you up to? Now, this was the third time in a week that he'd sent a late night text like that, and she'd actually ignored the first two. But now she was asking me what she should say in response the third time that he messaged this to her. So how could Catherine respond in a way that led to an enjoyable, positive conversation with her ex? I mean, really, all he'd done was ask her, what she's up to and if she's still alive. Now, a lot of people in this situation would reply by saying something like, I'm at the library studying for my midterm exam on Friday. What about you? Now, that's a logical response, but it's boring. It's not going to make Sean laugh or smile. It's not leading the conversation to something interesting, and it wouldn't make Catherine look good or seem, exciting or interesting. So simply responding by saying, I'm at the library studying, obviously she could come up with something better than that. My suggestion for Catherine was to find the darkest, most depressing looking study cubicle at the library, to scatter all her books on the desk chaotically, and leave a couple of empty coffee cups in the corner of the desk. Then take a selfie of her depressing little study cubicle and send only that picture to Sean in response to his text. Now, is this going to make Sean laugh his ass off or ask Catherine to take him back on the spot? No. I mean, let's be realistic here. You can only do so much to make this kind of mundane situation enjoyable for your ex. But at least the photo reply idea is a little bit amusing. It's not likely what Sean is expecting, and it shows that Catherine is busy studying late into the night because she's a crazy smart med school student going places in life with or without her ex, Sean. And by sending only the photo and no other kind of reply, she's dropping a bit of mystery and intrigue that will make Sean curious and make him more likely to reply and lead to a positive exchange that he'll be interested in and enjoy, at least on some small level. So here's one more example from a recent client who we'll call Jamal. Now, Jamal was doing well with his ex Emily. After no contact, he'd already met up with her once. Things seemed to be going well, although she wasn't yet ready to break down and ask him to get back together. And while he was, slowly rebuilding rapport and attraction with his ex, Jamal was also taking my advice and finding fun, interesting stuff to do with his time. I told Jamal to do something really interesting, like skydiving or a weekend hike in the remote mountains nearby. That's something that he knew would impress or be interesting to his ex. He really needed a fun story to tell Emily or to have an excuse to meet up with her again and show her a good time. Now, Jamal actually ended up doing even better than I expected. He signed up to be a crew member on a 3-day sailing excursion. On the first day, apparently they taught him to sail. The next 2 days, he cruised just around some nearby islands with a bunch of interesting people. Jamal obviously got some incredible sunset photos. He swam with a whale shark, and he got a hilarious sunburn on his back by trying to put sunscreen on his back by himself. Now, this obviously gave Jamal a perfect reason to meet up with Emily and tell her the story, because she happened to come from a family of sailors herself, and she'd always talked about someday taking Jamal out on a sailboat to experience it. Now, his trip was a great story that he knew she'd love hearing and appreciate. It made him look like a fun, exciting dude by doing something, interesting and adventurous without her. He had pictures of the trip and a hilarious sunburn to show her. And most of all, he had a foolproof way to make his ex enjoy getting together for dinner. Now, Jamal did end up actually getting back together with her, by the way, although it took another month after that. And as of his most recent email to me yesterday, they are still together. Now, obviously Jamal's example here is a little bit less realistic in many situations. It is hard to come up with such a perfect way to show his ex a good time and use the story to hugely increase her attraction to him. A lot of the time, you'll probably be more in a situation like Catherine's, the first example I talked about. But regardless of what the specifics are, you should always ensure you show your ex a good time and make each encounter a positive, enjoyable one that helps to improve how they think about you and subconsciously perceive you as a potential boyfriend or girlfriend. Now, if you need help like Jamal and Catherine did, you can sign up to work with me as your personal ongoing breakup coach just by visiting breakupbrad.com/coaching. It's way more affordable than you're expecting. And once you sign up, we'll work on an ongoing basis as your situation unfolds to make sure we maximize your chances of getting back together. Again, you can sign up at breakupbrad.com/coaching. Also, don't forget to take the free quiz at breakupbrad.com/quiz as well. And show me a bit of love by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. It takes a huge amount of time and effort to make these free advice videos every week, and your likes and subscribes and comments are really what keeps me going. So please click that like and subscribe button right now, and then get out there and make every encounter with your ex a positive one. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you in the next video.